Chris Shipman here, Kayak Fishing, Texas. I wanted to give you guys a quick walkthrough and comparison of the Wilderness Recon HD 120 and compare it to my Radar 115. I'm doing this video because when I was looking at the Recon to buy it, there were no videos anywhere showing a walkthrough or showing how the production model actually turned out versus the prototype that was released at ICAST. So I'm doing this for all those that have thought about it and wanted to know what it was and what it looks like, before they buy it. Hopefully this will help you. So a quick history lesson. I've been kayaking since 2012, 2013. Started out in rivers, mostly little 10-foot. First one was an Ocean Frenzy 9-footer. Pescadors, 10-foot, one of my favorite kayaks. I've got Jacksons, Ascend, Pescadors, Hobie. I've got several different brands in the house. I really love my Radar 115. It's been really good. I got it at the beginning of 2018. I've had it all over the state of Texas. It's been all in the marshes and inlands along the Texas coast. It's been all over the rivers. It's done the entire section between Canyon Lake Dam and New Braunfels. I think that's a 25-mile stretch of river with class 1 and class 2 rapids. Handled it with ease. The Radar's a great kayak, but it's got some shortcomings simply from the design. Anybody who's been around kayaks knows there's no perfect kayak, but it was a great kayak for me. One of the biggest things I didn't like about the Radar was I had the 115, so it's got the small front hatch. Let me walk over here. This hatch is basically useless. You can't really get anything in this thing, other than a small spinnerbait box, maybe a dry bag to stuff in there. About it. I loved the pedal pod systems. This system here with the front pod, I could easily mount my depth finder on it. I could pull the whole thing loose. Everything was away, tucked in the house and safe. I love that feature about the Radar. I actually love the Helix pedal drive. It's 6-to-1 ratio, which is kind of a small ratio compared to the Jackson and the Native and some of the other propeller-driven kayaks. But I can stay out on the water all day. My Radar's kind of beat up. I live in this thing on the weekends and every day off. It's not uncommon for me to spend 8 hours or more on the water each day on Saturday and Sunday. So this kayak has been abused and used, and it is still kicking and going strong. One of the biggest headaches with the Radar is the pedal drive retraction. It's got a quick release button that when you push it down, well, I'm on the ground, it's not going to do it, but you kick it and it comes back up. The biggest problem with that design flaw is that there was no way to align that prop to come up fully to be able to retract the drive so you could lay it down. Biggest headache. One of the tips that everybody does is they make marks on their drive to line up their pedals so they get it really close when they go to pull it up. But reality is 5 out of 10 times that you line it up and push that button, it's not coming all the way up. You got to push down and line it up. One of the biggest headaches about the Helix pedal drive on the Radar. The seat is great on the Radar. The Air Pro Max, one of the most comfortable seats I've ever been in, and I can spend hours and hours and hours and I never hurt. The Radar, I like the 2-position seat, high and low. I've got friends that take their Radar offshore. Water gets a little choppy, they put it in the low position for increased stability, and they just keep on trucking. One of the other benefits that I liked about the Radar is on the back deck, I had this nice open space that allowed me to mount flush mount rod holders. Also a great feature. It gave me that extra space to put be able to carry more rods because I'm getting old and I don't see as well and I hate tying knots, so I carry extra rods. Another one of the big disadvantages of the Radar is the front hatch. While it's great to have a hatch right there where you can easily reach it, the seat gets in the way and you can't fully open it. Yeah, you can kind of lean over and see. Now, if you don't have the pedal drive, the Radar, your seat slides back and you can kind of easily reach that at all times. But because your seat slides to reach the pedal drive, that hatch really gets in the way. But it's still a nice little feature. I like the access inside the hull from the front hatch and from the center console that allows you to mount things on the side, whether it be a trolley, anchor trolley, or another paddle clip or anything like that. Having the extra access, I wish the Radar had a rear access to make those kind of things easily. Although it does have a nice little spot right here that you could put a small, you know, 3-inch round hatch if you could find one. One of the other great things about the Radar is the tracks. You've got tracks in the front, you've got tracks where your seat mounts that you can still utilize, plus you've got extra tracks back here that allow for rod holders, cup holders, your 360 nav light that you need, you know, other things that you wanted to mount on the kayak. One of the great things about the kayak. One of the other difficult things about the Radar is the rudder deployment. It's the way the trajectory is of the lining. It just does not make it easy. You kind of have to learn little tips and tricks if you have a Radar with the rudder. Now, that's all my pluses and minuses of the Radar. I'm telling you that so you'll understand when we walk over to the Recon. So this is the new Recon 120 HD, meaning the Helix drive. First great feature about this is this huge center hatch with a nicely partitioned storage bin. You pull that hatch and you've still got plenty of access, carry spare paddles, put dry bags, any kind of that thing that, you know, you might want to carry with you when you're out on the water. One thing I'm not real happy about with the Recon is how this front hatch is attached. If you notice, it's kind of sloppy. When you look at it, the holes are kind of loose. I think they could have put a little more design time into that to make it a little tighter, a little easier. Because when you're in the water trying to rock, it might be a problem. But you drop it and it kind of goes right where it's supposed to go. So I have not had this out on the water. I just got this and just got it home. I've got a tournament this weekend, so I've got to get it all prepped. But I wanted to do this video real quick before I got too consumed with all of that. The Helix pedal drive is the same pedal drive that they've got on the Radar. And one of the big changes I've noticed is they've actually included the good pedals. So everybody who had the Radar with the pedal drive had to order mountain bike pedals because the little plastic pedals that came with the Helix drive were just horrible. They had no grip or traction. So everybody ordered little mountain bike pedals to fit on it. Well, Wilderness got smart and they've included nice mountain bike pedals now. I'm looking forward to that. It's the same stowing feature where it lays nice and flat. You know, same mechanism. It's the exact same drive. It's even the same mounting plate as the Radar. So I'm already familiar with that, so it should be good. One of the things they did about electronics. So, one back here. If you look at the kayak, you really don't have any pods or anything like the Radar does. So what they've done is they have transducer mounts underneath the scupper. And I'll flip this over in a few minutes to show you a couple of features, and I'll show you those scupper mounts then. And they have it for both scupper holes. So you've got transducer mounts underneath both scupper holes. And this is your wire tray that you would run your wire. Use pad eyes right here to hold that wire in place and hold it straight and out of the way. These 2 points are the spots that you drill to use your through hole fittings to hold your wire nice and tight. I will say I'm not sure I'm exactly happy about that because the wire coming from here to here, I'm worried might be a little, you know, bothersome, get snagged with hooks or something like that. But once I get it all put in place, we'll see how that goes. This seat is awesome. So high position of the Radar sits roughly 10 inches above the deck. This sitting platform is actually 13 inches above the deck. So you've got an extra 3 inches of height. Gets you a little bit higher up, better for sight casting, you know, it's also gonna make it a little bit easier standing up to fish. One of the great things about this seat that they've showed in their promo video is the adjustability. It's just like your old grandpa's pickup truck. You pull the lever, the whole seat slides. So this will allow you to reach forward, to be able to reach your pedals and pedal with ease. But when you've got something back in the crate that you need, you simply push back, lean back, grab it, and then you go back to where you need to sit. One of the things I'm not happy with on the Recon, the radar had these nice little pad eyes that were made of steel that allowed you to really attach your crate to, or your wilderness crate, or whatever crate you had. I used little gear tags, and I would just loop them through there, and it would hold my crate in nice. I didn't have to rely on the bungee staying in place to hold my crate in. The Recon lacks those. Now I'm hoping that when I mount my transducer wire, I can put pad eyes in the bottom and be able to utilize that. I may have to double stack a couple pad eyes. I'll figure all that out as I start putting it all together. One thing I do love about this is the rod storage, the horizontal rod storage that they've incorporated into the kayak. Now, Wilderness claims you can fit 2 rods right here, and they're easily held by a bungee. Now, this is a 7'10" rod, and it's just barely sticking out the tip. And I can actually push it where it's down in, so it's not a problem. Wilderness does not have a rod tip protector currently that will fit right here that you could use if you are a river kayaker or anything like that who's going to want that to put rod tips. However, Jackson does make those, Hobie makes those, and Hobie's got a nice slender one that actually looks like it might do well mounting right here. My kind of fishing, I don't think I'm going to need them, so it's not a priority for me. So maybe somebody who ends up buying the Recon and they mount the rod tips, they can share that with other people so they know where to go. One thing I'm not happy about with the Recon is traditional radars, traditional pescadores, most other wildernesses I've seen all have a paddle park built onto the side of the kayak. Nice little bungee. Most kayaks do. Recon has chosen not to do that. And there's nothing here for mounting the paddle. They do have recesses built into the kayak for you to break your paddle apart and stow it, which if you're all open water, that's fine. But you know, we fish a lot of the marshes, we fish a lot of the creeks and so forth where we get shallow enough the drive comes up and the paddle comes out, and I like to have my paddle easily accessible. So I will probably be looking at a couple of taco clips to put in. I wish the Recon had more accessory tracks. You know, you've got roughly 18-inch track here and on there. That's the only track you've got. You've got a spot right behind the seat that you could mount maybe a 6-inch track if you wanted to mount a couple of rocket tube rod holders. You've also got a couple of little flat spots here, which I plan on mounting a little stubby to put my 360 light. That's, you know, it's real limited on where you can. My Outback that I've got, 2017 Outback, has got little recesses like this, and I've mounted little 4-inch tracks inside those and used those for depth finders and so forth. So that's also a possibility, but I really plan on using that more for extra tackle storage. One thing I'm not happy about is that with the tackle storage here, they've got a drain hole. However, that drain hole is kind of high, so you're going to have to kind of lean to get it to drain out properly. But other than that, it's actually where it's placed is good. You can grab your extra spinnerbait if you want to tie off your lipless that you want to throw on. You know, switch from a 2.5 to a 1.5. It's there. They changed the rudder controls. So the radar was mounted on the side, tall handle. It was kind of nice because you could just use the heel of your palm to easily turn the rudder. Well, they've gone more of a side. This is very reminiscent of the Hobie Outback control. What I'm probably going to do is drill a hole in this and put a knob like I've got on my wife's Outback, and just to make steering a little bit easier for me. One of the great things they did do about the rudder that solved the problem with the radar is they've moved the deployment and retraction to right alongside the seat. They've split it up. Instead of having one cable that was all linked, now you've got separate controls and it's all in line, so it's no longer a hassle. Pretty much just like Old Town and Native, and actually Native doesn't deploy, sorry, pretty much like Old Town. Made it nice and smooth. They do have this great 4-inch hatch back here for quick access, which will allow you to mount plates for your power pole, or if you want to rig up a plate to mount a trolling motor. I know they're working on plates that will easily adapt to it and easily drill in and mount. That's going to give you quick access to reach that stuff. So I like having access here, and I like having access here, but there's no access in the middle. And so while we're talking about the middle, this seat does remove a couple of quick little bolts. They're self-retaining, so they don't come out of the seat, so they're always there. You're not going to lose them. Seat comes out nice and easy. And believe it or not, this seat will sit in the yard, and you can sit on it like you would do at the beach with a Hobie seat, with a Jackson seat, or any of that. I was doing it this weekend in my in-laws' yard, and it's nice and comfortable sitting on the ground. The wilderness seat, or the radar seat, great seat. However, these kayaks tend to shift a little in the sun and sit when they're sitting without a seat in them, and they kind of get hard to put in and out. Anybody who's ever been in a radar complains about that, so if you've been in one, you know. I love this section here. So with the radar, there were no scupper holes behind the seat, and so when you had water splash over, you always ended up with water in the back of your kayak with no way to really get it out, short of going up on shore and turning your kayak around and making it all drain forward. Well, they got smart and they put scuppers at the back of the seat, because your weight's always going to sit back here. That way it's going to drain. And I would like to put a square hatch right here that allows me to have access in and out, either for mounting lights or electronics, or all my little knickknacks that I want to mount to the kayak. So the last thing I want to show you, well, a couple of things real quick. The rear handles are molded underneath, so they're just like this, nice and easy. Instead of this handle that was basically always interrupted by the rudder. The thing they don't have is a bungee that holds this down. Radar had a bungee that clips into the handle that you just clip on the rudder, and it applies constant pressure for traveling. So I'm going to have to steal my bungee off my radar, and I'm going to put it on this to hold it down while I'm traveling. You've got a neat little tool tray right behind the seat. Easily put a tackle box or two in. On the underside, what I want to show you, so the Helix drive retraction, they've come up with this, kind of like the Native, where you go to pull it up, and that prop hits that side, and it lines itself up, so it'll come up a lot easier. Everybody complaining about with their radar how it was a pain to get their drive up, and as I mentioned earlier about it being difficult, this has allowed that to be a lot easier for you. And while we've got it flipped up, here are those transducer mounts I was talking about earlier. I haven't tried to mount my transducer yet. I know the Perceptions have a plastic plate that mounts there to allow you to fit different transducer styles. So I don't know if my transducer is going to bolt directly on, or if I'm going to have to go with one of those plates. I haven't tried yet. But you can mount it on either side. Allows you to keep all your electronics on one side of the kayak. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks, guys.